Today I'm super excited to show off a whole bunch of new to me, but old classic fantasy books that I just picked up for absolute dirt cheap. Two great things when they come together. Well, welcome everybody back to the Geek Corner, the new and improved Geek Corner. You may have seen on my social media posts about the new setup that I've got. I got my art station in here now, my Star Wars miniatures, my Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures, my Expanded Universe collection, my Dragonlance collection, and then what I'm going to start doing on these shelves behind me is I've been in the process of finding old science fiction and fantasy series that I remembered reading back in high school and college. We're going back quite a distance for those. And I just got my hands on like 5 book series that, well, kind of like two main authors, but a bunch of their series that they wrote. And I'm just absolutely stoked about this. The first series that I picked up 6 books, and like 6 good-sized books for $9 Canadian at a Bible thrift store, which was really cool. And this is Stephen R. Donaldson's The Thomas Covenant series. So this is the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. This is I remember reading this in oh my goodness, when did I read this? Maybe in college. So I think this was first published in, I should have checked this beforehand here. When was this published? This was 1977. A lot of cool stuff came out in 1977. So the first book here, Lord Fowl's Bane, introduces us to the character of Thomas Covenant. Now, Thomas Covenant, even though this is a fantasy series, he lives in our world. He's a journalist or an author, if I remember correctly, and he comes down with leprosy. Yeah, I know, right? You don't really hear too often of people coming down with leprosy nowadays, but in the 70s, I guess a lot of people still were. And he lost half of his hand because of the leprosy, lost a number of fingers, but also lost his wife and his job, and his whole life was just kind of crumbling down around him. It was really like a Job kind of story. Then he hits by a car, ends up in the hospital in a coma, and he wakes up in this fantasy realm called the Land, and there's this evil villain called Lord Fowl, and he's basically trying to fight and overthrow the creator. Again, very themes I really relate to, which is funny because I wasn't even a Christian back then when I read these things, but hey, there's some kind of biblical themes here. And Thomas Covenant, he's called the Unbeliever because he doesn't even believe he's really there. He thinks he's in a coma. Right? And so he thinks this is all just some kind of dream. So he's not a very nice guy and does a lot of really not nice stuff. Like there's really some like rough stuff in these books, but I guess that was just kind of normal in the 70s. So, but I just remember really loving this, and it's kind of one of those anti-hero kind of stories. So I'm really looking forward to diving back into that. And then there's the follow-up series to that. It's the second Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever. So another 3 series books in that. So that was the first find. So again, those 6 books, got them for $9. It's like, oh, so exciting. This book series, man, I just stumbled on this on Facebook Marketplace yesterday, and I've been searching for this for about a year. I've been trying to find this at secondhand bookstores, flea markets. I've talked to people who own secondhand bookstores, and I drop the name of the author, and they don't even know who I'm talking about. So this was a book series that started coming out in the mid-1960s. I think the first book was in 1965, 1967, and then a bulk of the books came out in the early 1970s. This series first came out in 1971. So this is Michael Moorcock's Elric of Boney series. So these books were tiny little books. They're like 120 pages, 180 pages, small little books. But this series of books, when it comes to fantasy writing, absolutely love this. This was the whole battle between chaos and order in around the whole, around the cosmos. And this character Elric is a reincarnation. Incarnation of the Eternal Champion. And what this is kind of this Eternal Champion is reincarnated and reborn in every multiverse, in every universe. The Eternal Champion is created. And again, he's kind of this anti-hero type of character. He's either going to destroy the world or he's going to save the world. He's going to destroy it or going to save it. So you got Elric of Boney was the 6-book series in here. You got the Sailor of the Sea of Fates, and the Weird of the White Wolf, the Vanishing Tower, the Bane of the Black Sword, and Stormbringer. Stormbringer was the name of his sword. And this was like, I think I first read this in high school. And again, this originally came out in 1971. I read it in the 80s. Yeah, anyways. And then you had other characters in the Eternal Champion series. You had another guy named Corum. So he'd kind of the Knight of the Sword, Queen of the Sword, and the King of the Sword books. That was his series. But he also had kind of the Chronicles of Corum. And the artwork, in these books, oh my goodness, it's just gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. And then you have the other trilogy of Count Brass, another storyline in the Eternal Champion. And then this one I actually never heard of. This is the Cornelius Chronicles. Like, man, it doesn't get more 60s than this cover right here. And, Jerry Cornelius copulates, hallucinates, devastates, dies, and comes back from the dead. Frequently. That's what's written on the back of the book here. I've never heard of this book before, but it came in with this. And so I got all 14 of these books for $30 Canadian. It's like $2 a book. I love it. So I'm excited to kind of add these to my collection. And, getting back into nostalgia, getting back into old books, for me personally, has just brought so much joy. There's some great stories. There's some amazing classics. And, we all kind of go, I should read the classics one day. That's a great time to read the classics. If you're not really into what's coming out of Hollywood, if you're not really enjoying what's coming out on Disney Plus or on Netflix, man, just grab some of these old books. And one of the things I love about collecting this way, it's a great way to support small local business. Secondhand bookstores, thrift stores that use that money to donate money to charity, flea markets, different things like that. For me, it's just a great way to be out in the community, get to meet new people who've got the same interests as me, who loved these books 40 years ago like I did when we were all kids, and rediscovering our love of these books. So I'm really excited to get these up on the shelf. They're probably going to replace Baby Yoda, and so we can see them there. And and then as I start reading them, I'll be doing reviews and commentaries on all of these books, but I'm a slow reader. So it's going to take me like 40 years to get through my Geek Corner, but that's okay. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it. So that's the video for today. Thanks so much for being a part of the community. It really means the world to me that you're here. For the entire months of June and July, all the proceeds that I make from YouTube are going to Compassion Canada for a special project that we are working with them on to help young moms and babies. It's to combat child mortality and complications in childbirth in Guatemala, and really excited to partner with them about that. So if you want to hit that little thank you button and give a little tip, that money goes directly to Compassion Canada, as well as all my ad revenues and super chats and things like that from live streams. So that's it for the video. Again, thank you so much for being here. Until the next time we get together in the Geek Corner, God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.